the relationship with Russia. India has a special and privileged strategic relationship with Russia at a time when we're increasingly concerned about some of Russia's behaviours and its role in the world today. How would you see India's relationship developing, and what should it be under a Congress government?
I think the frame is India acts in its self-interest. And India's self-interest is dynamic. So, some of those choices are dynamic choices. However, we have had a traditional relationship with the Russians. We've had a close relationship with them, and we value that relationship.
Annette, Annette, yes, there, just there. In fact, not there.
Annette Pranzier from the Royal Commonwealth Society. The Commonwealth Network is a network of 53 countries that form an integral part of the rules-based international order. But to date, India has not really been perceived as being an active member of that network. And given it represents half the population of the Commonwealth, do you think that ought to change?
Yes, we'll try. I don't know. Those are traditional ties, and I think they're important. But I think emphasis is in other areas these days. I mean, that the mind space that the Commonwealth occupied, and I'm being blunt, the mind space that the Commonwealth occupied in India, it doesn't occupy today. And I think it's something that one should work towards, and I think those are our relationships that are very important, and we value them, and I think that's something that we should work on. But when you talk to India, you see, we respond to how the public feels. And when you talk to the public in India, the public in India is United States, Europe, China, Africa. They see it in that frame. They don't see it in the frame of the Commonwealth.
Okay, John Elliott and then Viraj Solanki will end. John.
John Elliott, journalist from
How are you?
Delhi. Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well.
Simple question.
No question is simple.
Short question.
Okay.
What have you learned from the defeat in 2014?
That you have to listen. That leadership is about listening, and that leadership is about listening. Leadership is about empathy to the person who's speaking, regardless of whether you agree with them or not. That's at a personal level. At a party level, I think there was a certain degree of arrogance that had crept into the Congress party after 10 years of power. So, never forgetting that the party is actually the people. And that's a lesson for everybody in the Congress party.
Yeah, my colleague Viraj Solanki.
I think the last thing, there is a design issue as well, which is that we are fighting an organization called the RSS that is trying to change the nature of India. See, there is no other organization in India that wants to capture India's institutions. When the Congress party comes to power, or the Samajwadi comes to power, or the BSP comes to power, or the DMK comes to power, they don't try to attack and capture India's institutions. What we're dealing with is a completely new idea. It's an old idea being reborn. And it's similar to the idea that exists in the Arab world with the Muslim Brotherhood. And I would compare it. And the idea is that one ideology should run through every single institution. One idea should crush all other ideas. And so you see the response of 4 Supreme Court judges who come out and say we're not being allowed to do our work. You see Mr. Raghuram Rajan and the shock of demonetization. You can see India's institutions being torn down one by one. And the realization that we are fighting now something that is trying to destroy the modern idea of India. And that requires a response that is more inclusive. That the response has to include everybody who values what India has achieved. Everybody who values the institutions of our country. And so a more open Congress that is more open to conversations, that is more open to embracing other parties and trying to build a bridge between them. One doesn't hear what is actually happening in India. And it's important that you know. When you said something like, you know, India punches above its weight. To be blunt, the West didn't believe in India in 1947. The West and all the writings that I read said that India cannot succeed as a democracy. And India proved the West wrong. India said, no, we can actually succeed as a democracy and we will do it our way. And we did it. And the thing that allowed us to do it was thousands and thousands of people who worked in India's institutional framework, whether they're businesses or their courts or their political parties. Thousands and thousands of these people, each one doing his own little revolution. And that is what is under attack. What is under attack is the idea that there can be millions of different voices in our country. And that's what we're defending. And realize that a lot of the benefit that the West can get out of India, a lot of the success that we can work on together is dependent on those institutions. When you look at demonetization and ignore what really happened, which is basically a bypass of every single Indian institution. When you look at the 4 Chief Justices of the Supreme Court coming out and saying, we're not being allowed to do our work, realize that if that process takes its course, forget punching over its weight, India won't be able to punch.